Howdy folks, it's Zach, and welcome to my Watch Dogs 2 trailer analysis, and oh my goodness, man am I excited for this game. So, guys, I love the original Watch Dogs. I know it had its flaws, but I was definitely a big fan. So right now, the first thing you're going to notice in the trailer is everything about it is trying to say, hey, we learned from our mistakes from the first game, and we're trying to fix it. So the first things up is that instead of Chicago, where I was born actually, now they are in San Francisco, in the state that I currently live in. And I can tell you, these things are worlds apart, and even in this trailer you're going to start getting a feel for it. The color palette is brighter, the nightlife is bigger and bolder. You can see that the environments here in these cutscenes are meant to have different types of lighting mixed with different styles of class. So there's the upper class, the lower class, there's this hidden underworld, and even within that hidden underworld, you're going to see you've got these DedSec guys who are really colorful and trying to have fun, and then you've also got the criminal elements that are just trying to control everything, and they can look like biker gangs. So a lot of this game is really trying to just up the ante in energy. And if I had one key word to put to this trailer, both for this and for the Protagonist, it is energy. They're really trying to make sure that everybody knows, hey, this isn't Watch Dogs 1. This is going to be even more bombastic. It's going to be loud. It's going to be bright. It's going to be fast. Everything is just being taken up to the next level. So as you can see here, we're starting to see shots now of some of the gameplay elements that are going to be involved. And if I could just point out, a lot of these key elements were in Watch Dogs 1, but they're just being taken into a different direction in Watch Dogs 2. And I think this is a really good thing. I like Ubisoft games most of the time. And some of the things that were really fun in Watch Dogs were hacking, cameras and equipment. It was the free running movement of Aiden Pierce. It was some of the combat elements and the stealth. But now it looks like it's going up into an entirely new plateau. The Protagonist is younger, he's faster, he's more parkour oriented. His melee weapons are kind of the do-it-yourself items where Aiden Pierce would just go to the gun store, he'd buy some more guns, and he always had with him the extendable baton. You've got Marcus, this new protagonist they have, and he is from Oakland. He is youthful. He's got a combat style that is based off of speed and dexterity. His parkour is a lot better, and then his melee weapon is literally it's a cue ball with a hole drilled into it and some parachute line tied into it. I mean, so when you see him in melee, I mean, he is fast as, well, I'd swear right there, but I'm trying not to. I mean, he is fast. He's very quick, and so it has me questioning a little bit of how they're going to do the combat. If they're going to give you a little bit more direct control over it, like they do in Assassin's Creed, or if they're going to do what they did in the original Watch Dogs, which is you just push one button for a melee, and you see him go through the animation. Anyway, I'm very excited about some of these new things. So what we're going to do in this trailer is we're going to go ahead and look through the two different trailers and the 18-minute presentation that Ubisoft put out that also has the trailer in it, and we're just going to talk about what we're seeing and give you guys a chance to analysis. And so if you guys want to weigh in, feel free to comment below and we'll get that conversation rolling. By the way, guys, I may reveal some spoilers from Watch Dogs 1, so if you haven't played that game or you do feel like, hey, I don't want this to be spoiled for me and this plot element seemed really important, guys, I'm just going to let you know, it's probably going to come out as I'm going through this, so if that's not something you want spoiled for you, just stop now, play the game, and then rewatch this video. But in the meantime, for everybody else who's watching this, either you haven't played the first game, you did play the first game, or you haven't played it but don't care if the spoilers come. Alright, so here we go. So the team in Montreal, and one of the things I love about Ubisoft games is that, believe it or not, Watch Dogs is actually tied into the Assassin's Creed universe. If you play through some of the optional missions in the original Watch Dogs, you will find a mission eventually to assassinate one of the French members of what is it called? Abstergo Enterprises, Abstergo Industries, which is a really great way to subtly tie in these two franchises together. And a lot of times in the first Watch Dogs, I really thought that this is what a modern day assassin would look like. Especially, by the way, guys, if you get the white Bloom operator jacket, it's got kind of a white, red, and black color scheme. And I was like, what? Assassin's Creed? Totally. Anyway, loved it. Anyway, so if you got a chance to play through that game, I definitely recommend that outfit. But that's the thing, is it was tied to that universe, which was really kind of cool. And so very easily, Bloom, as a company, fit very well with Abstergo Industries as all about control and getting into everybody's individual lives. And Aiden Pierce just naturally fit into the assassin category of, fighting that control and being kind of on his own tale of revenge. And so a lot of the clips you're seeing right now are actually from the first game, mixed in with some clips from the second game, and talking about the control system you had in the first game. In the first game, you could make pipes explode, you could, switch stoplights, you could, basically run certain electrical objects within the world. And that's one of the reasons I enjoyed Watch Dogs so darn much. Even though there's games like Grand Theft Auto out there, and I mean, they are great, don't get me wrong, and when you compare it to Watch Dogs, Grand Theft Auto and Watch Dogs, Grand Theft Auto has a richer world, an amazing story, protagonists that you either love or you hate, but at least they're polarizing. Whereas Watch Dogs, the lead character Aiden felt kind of bland, and the world itself really didn't vary too much. So a lot of the clips that you're seeing from Ubisoft here, I mean, they are talking about a ground up change. So you can see here the location is now San Francisco. And I can't even tell you guys, if you've never been to San Francisco, it might as well be on another planet than Chicago. And don't get me wrong, I love Chicago. I have a lot of family that still live out there. I visit them all the time. It's a great city, and I still feel like Watch Dogs didn't really quite give it justice, but San Francisco looks like they're just diving all in. It's a much more colorful town. There's huge theater communities, gay and lesbian communities. There's also, just a rich area of upper class citizens who've lived there for years. It's got this multifaceted layer of who lives there and what types of people live there. It's one of the most liberal cities in the world, and the topography is crazy. I mean, absolutely crazy. And so a lot of one of the criticisms in the first game was just that everything kind of felt pretty flat. There wasn't really hills, and that will definitely change in San Francisco. Also here you can see that this time, instead of some rogue agent, kind of doing his own thing, you are part of DedSec. And DedSec was alluded to in the first game as a hacktivist group that Aiden Pierce would tap into to get hacking codes. He himself was not really all that much of a hacker. He was, basically getting everything that he used from sources within DedSec. And his other partner, and he was really more what they would call, what did they call it? He was an operator. He's the hands-on, in the thick of it. He's your fighter. He's your you're the melee guy to the brains, the hands of the operation. But this time, you're going to be dealing with this guy, Marcus. And Marcus is a mixed bag. He is pretty much the opposite of Aiden. He is younger. He is faster. He is stronger. And he is an extremely intelligent hacker himself. So he basically kind of takes the archetype of Aiden Pierce and they up the ante quite a bit into making him, something that players can then hopefully connect to. So here we have some great shots of what this world's going to look like, and I'm very excited about it. Just even the sunlight effects, I mean, the way the sun is streaming in, I'm really hoping, too, that this is what the game engine actually looks like. One of the big problems with Ubisoft games in the past is that they'll come into a place like E3 and they'll show this amazing, technically graphic demo that just looks unbelievably great, and then when the game comes out, you find out it's not even anything close to that. For the longest time, too, when I would run Watch Dogs, I would get, on the highest settings, some of the worst frame rate issues ever, and I have a pretty decent computer setup. And it took me a long time to figure out how to change it to actually get to some decent frame rates. So everything that I'm seeing here, I'm kind of taking it with a grain of salt. But one thing I do want to point out is that it's a much more alive world, even in just these little demos. And I'm hoping this stays in. There's a wide variety of age groups and ethnicities that you're seeing in these photos. In these clips. You're seeing people from all different types of walks of life. You're seeing pets, for Pete's sake. I mean, the fact that you could even see dogs running around in a video game, I think is pretty awesome, and that they would have their own AI running them is amazing. It kind of has me a little bit worried about load times in the game, if you're going to have to load up big areas just to kind of get everything going. The first Watch Dogs was actually pretty good about that. You could go from one end of the map to the other and not really feel any of the loading. Once that game was pretty much in and rolling, it was pretty much good to go until you would go into, say, like a story mission. Or one of your side missions or whatever it had to like reset the map for. Uh, Here, one of the things that I'm really interested in is how Ubisoft kind of ups the ante with not just your protagonists but all the antagonists too. And so they're showing clips here of the different corporations you'll face and some of the different factions within the underworld you'll face. There's other hacker groups. There's still the same kind of gangs, but at least the gangs, they look like they have very different flavors. You saw like a biker gang, the hacktivist gang that looks like kind of like the opposite of DedSec, possibly more militant. And now also they're showing pictures of the new hero. So this is Marcus, and unlike Aiden Pierce, he is kind of got a rougher past, and it sounds like in the game they will allude to it a little bit better. With Aiden, when they talked about his past, they really only ever talked about him and his former partner, and then the tragedy that happened with his niece. With this, it looks like they will go into a bit of the backstory of who Marcus is. He comes from Oakland. They'll go a little bit into how he was charged for a crime that he didn't commit, and because of all that, that is what gets him into this world of hacktivism. What I really like about this is that instead of taking a character who was basically a vigilante and plugging him into a game about activism, this time they're making that character from the ground up. What does this character look like if he organically came in this universe into this position? It doesn't tell us anything about his mission, though. That's the one thing that worries me, is that at least with Aiden Pierce, it was very clear what his mission objective was. He was out to avenge his niece, and that's the revenge tale that takes him from one end of the game to the other. With Marcus, we really don't know anything about him as far as what is going to be the driving force of this plot. There's a lot in this trailer to kind of get you excited about who he is, how he fights, how he moves, how he thinks, his age, the way he dresses, to try to pull you in and get you ready for that. But it hasn't really mentioned anything about what is going to be the central plot of Watch Dogs 2. So I don't know if that will come up again in later trailers. I'm hoping it's something really good. And I'm also really hoping for something a little different. The first game, I feel like they covered the revenge tale very well. Oh, check this action out too. You can see the difference here in parkour. Just way more speedy. One of the things I like about Assassin's Creed, is the climbing. I do actually enjoy it when they do it well, but in real life, I mean, you just don't see people climbing buildings like that. One of the things I like about this is that they basically took all the parkour that you would see from guys who are showing off in the modern setting. Those YouTube videos of those guys who go to Dubai and climb up onto ridiculous towers and walk out onto long ledges and just do all this crazy stuff with parkour. And they're basically saying, like, okay, let's make that guy into the hero. Like, what does that look like? And I dig it. I'm down for that. I'm very down for that. And this is the weapon that I was describing earlier. I mean, I think this thing is going to be sick. I don't know if you guys are familiar with using yo-yos or anything like that, but a yo-yo was actually originally designed as a personal defense weapon in the Philippines. And so seeing this thing in action, obviously it doesn't have the extension that that a yo-yo would with a wind up in the string, but I mean, when you look at this thing, I mean, that thing is brutal. I'm a martial artist myself, and one of the things that we use in Korean martial arts is called sangjobangs, which is basically your nunchucks. And the force that is generated from the swing of those things is unbelievable. And this is literally just a wooden ball on the end of a string. I mean, the damage that causes when used well is just insane. And so watching even that little clip, I got really excited because I feel like that is a great, unique way to go with a personal defense weapon that you just don't see often in video games. And hopefully, we see a lot of the clips of him whipping it around and kind of attacking the head and attacking the body. I'd love to see some more shots of maybe him, sweeping dudes off with a leg and, or using it to, wrap around and choke a dude out or something like that. I think there's a lot of possibilities for that weapon. I'm hoping this hasn't just shown us everything we're going to see. In the first game, Aiden Pierce, he'd just tap a button when he was in melee range, and he'd just, take a dude out really quick with the extendable baton. And I'm hoping that they just didn't trade that for this. I'm hoping they give you a little bit more personal action. Anyway, so now let's talk a little bit about DedSec. So DedSec was the hacker group, obviously, in the first game. but they only really alluded to them. You met Clara, who kind of visually had the look of, the girl with the dragon tattoos. I kind of felt like she was a lot of stereotypes all rolled into one, including a foreign accent. I was like, here we are in Chicago, and this chick has to have a foreign accent too, just to let us know who she's based off of. And I was like, come on. So DedSec this time around is going to have a lot more flavors to it, which I'm really excited about. So Marcus obviously is kind of the stand-in for the player a little bit, but he's kind of dynamic, exciting, comes from, a rough part of Oakland, and now you'll see some really militant guys in DedSec, and like that dude you saw wearing the spikes, or you might see the people who are just a little bit more into the activism and not so much the fun, and then you have some of these guys who are just the crazy, like, hey, yeah, the world's our oyster, let's just live in it, and let's just do it. So DedSec this time around takes center stage, where in the first game they were mentioned and they were important, and this was where Aiden was getting a lot of his technology from to go ahead and hack the CTOS network, but they weren't the stars of the game. Now it looks like they are. In fact, they're part of the main faction. So kind of like Assassin's Creed with the assassins, now DedSec kind of takes center stage as the faction. So you are this member of this faction, you're part of a larger community. I don't know how that's going to play out, if that means you may at sometimes be able to enlist the aid of other hackers within the NPCs of DedSec. But they did show, and they'll show this up in a little bit, that inside of the game world, instead of having competitive co-op features like the first game did, you'll actually be able to have true, friendly co-op within the game world with other players, which I am thrilled about. That is the kind of co-op I've been looking for in Ubisoft games. I loved working the co-op in the Splinter Cells games when you and another spy would be doing some infiltrations, but I'm not really much for PvP. I don't really like being against other players when I'm online. I love MMOs. I love teaming up with other people and having that be fun. And so with this new world that they're creating for Watch Dogs 2, it looks like that will be something that they'll include, is that you can bring in now a guy that you just made online and do missions together, and bring that the double hacking, double stealth, double whatever into the world, which I just think is great. Also, by the way, guys, note that now in the game you can hack everything, and so if you're watching this video, you're seeing every car, every vehicle, every phone, everybody that you see is now hackable. And then these little drones, I think, could be a game changer. In the expansion for the first game in Watch Dogs, you got to use T-Bone, and he had a little something like that, and I think now they're just taking that to the next level. I also think, too, it's inspired partly by the Call of Duty series, and just taking things to the next generation. So it's like, okay, if you use electronic devices, then why not also use a device that's like a drone? Drones are very prevalent. They're remote controlled anyway, but now what does that look like in the hands of a hacker? And so watching a flying drone zip through the city, I don't know if they're going to... It looked like there were squares there, so there might be a mini game based around it. I'm not really sure. But I do think that would be a very, very cool tool to have. They used that in Splinter Cell Blacklist. You can use a stealth drone, and I loved that freaking thing. I mean, that was great. You could map out an entire area in advance and stun guys from a couple screens away, and then come on in. Really, really, really fun to use. So in an open world game like this, man, I can't even tell you how excited I am by that. Also, too, it looks like, and one of the things I'm excited about is it looks like most of these shots are undoctored, like the ones from the E3 demo for the original. Check out that fat car, dude. Oh my gosh. I would love to drive around in that. But also, it looks like the hacking just goes way deeper in this game. So the developers were saying that they wanted everything to just be bigger. So every electronic device you see, every phone, and then eventually mass hacking. How do you hack multiple phones at one time or multiple computers at one time? I think that'd be fantastic. Also, too, it looks like the vehicles have had a serious upgrade in speed and control. If you were watching the video as you were driving around in these cars, in the first game, I mean, every car felt like it was riding on greased butter. I mean, you would literally go into a slide and just crash into everything. None of the cars really felt very tight or controllable. So in this demo, they're showing off some of the the vehicles and how they drive. I'm hoping to get multiple vehicles we didn't see the first time, kind of like that four-wheeler. I'm really looking to see that they all control and have a little bit of a different feel on speed and weight and responsiveness. And this is what I'm talking about with co-op, guys. So check this out. Man, what I wouldn't give to be able to control a custom look to my avatar. You want to talk about, shut up and take my money kind of memes, man? Dude, anytime they're like, hey, customize your character so people can see what you look like online, dude, here's my wallet. Just take it. Just take the cash. Just take it. So as you can see here, there's some really cool co-ops, and it looks like you're gonna have some emotes and be able to say hi to guys. I think that's really awesome. And they showed some sick gameplay there with how to work with co-op. Also, the boats are back. They were in Chicago. I think these boats look really, really awesome. And I don't know if this is gonna be like a little mini game here that he's doing. The first game really had some very entertaining mini games inside of it, which I thought were awesome. And it looks like here you got Marcus. He's taking selfies. He's just petting dogs. He's riding boats. I don't know if that's going to be part of the main quest right there, but hacking, hacking Wi-Fi networks and stuff like that. But if overall the game universe just looks so much brighter and more interactive that I'm excited about that. So Marcus himself, I think is going to be a very compelling character. I'm really curious to see what they do with him, and they're showing off a lot about kind of the youth and the energy. I feel like that right now is mostly just to address the criticisms with Aiden, but again, they don't seem to want to tell us very much about the story. So guys, I would expect within the next few months, they said in this demo that they are able to play the game from start to finish now. I would start expecting to see full story mode trailers. That's probably what we're going to see next from Ubisoft. This one was really just to get our appetites wet about the gameplay that they've upgraded and kind of fixed, and to get us excited about the character, which were like the two biggest complaints about the first game. I think story's going to come next, and if the gameplay holds up to what we're seeing in the trailer, I think the game will pretty much sell itself. Watch Dogs, I felt, was extraordinarily fun, and I feel like this game is going to be a really, really fantastic sequel. So let's keep our eyes out, guys. So anyway, if you enjoyed the comments that we're putting down here, guys, feel free to jump into the conversation. If you have questions or thoughts, put them below. But I hope you guys are enjoying my channel. Please like these videos. Please subscribe. And guys, we will see you next time.